You made it to Sketchy Live, and now you're here.
Hey, everyone.
What is going on at Sketchy Live Monday, the podcast? I'm Johnny Jalopy, hot rod artist, pseudo fabricator, and all-around goofball. With me, as always, the lovely, the talented, the linchpin, the lynch mob, all of it.
All of it.
Beanie wear, Supreme, Itty B.
Hey, guys.
What's going on?
You guys are in for a
treat
tonight.
Treats.
We got to chat with Thomas Estrada for a little bit prior to the broadcast tonight, and I wasted some good questions.
To hold the information back because they were wasting amazing podcasting information. But let's not let our guest wait any further. Welcome, if you will, the amazing artist Thomas Estrada.
Yay!
What is up? So excited to have you on. How are you doing?
How's it going?
We are good.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is
absolutely.
Cool.
It's been too long.
It's been too long. We've been talking about doing this for a while now.
And again, so cool to we got to share a little bit about podcast space last year.
Last year it was, Autorama last year.
Yeah. At Autorama in Detroit, which was cool. It was amazing. Thank you so much for making that opportunity happen.
For sure. They actually approached me, Motor Mania, and they said, "Hey, do you know Johnny Jalopy?" I said, "I do." They said, "You think you can get him on our show?" I'm like, "I'll try."
You're like, that guy's a ham. He ain't gonna have any problem. He'll be right there.
Well, and that's the first that the two of you met in real life.
Yes. We had only.
That's right. Yeah, we had
internet.
We had chatted quite a bit before that. So yeah, it was cool to find
a lot of me picking your brain on like, how do you do this and how are you doing that? And
I'm the same way.
What materials are you using? Because holy cow, the stuff that you're putting out is amazing. Big fan, love your stuff, man.
Man, thank you.
You can definitely tell the level of artistic abilities on that side of the camera.
For sure. So you were telling us that you got your start
right into it.
Yes.
Yeah, let's get into it.
1997. So this has been a career for you. So how did you get started with that? I mean, obviously you were drawing before that. So
yeah, drawing, it was just one of those things that I had done as long as I can remember. Some of my earliest memories, 4, 5 years old, was sitting at the coffee table with my brothers and my older brother Andy, when we would draw a lot together of just monster stuff and cars, and all the
typical boys
in the mid 70s and just drawing that kind of thing, and that was just something I always done. And I wasn't very good athletically or even in school, but the drawing thing was just something that I didn't even realize it was a thing until I got into kindergarten, with other students,
right.
And I was drawing just the way I always did at home. And then that's where kids started noticing what I was doing. They're like, whoa, I would draw these Giant Robot was an old TV show, the Japanese series, Johnny Sacco and the Flying Robot. And so that was one of the earlier things. And I remember then, where kids started noticing, like, whoa, how'd you do that? Can you draw one of those for me? And I was like, oh, this is kind of a cool thing. I didn't think it was any about it,
Right.
And then, as I got older, I remember being, 10, 11 years old. My mom was dating a guy that was just one of these cool dudes that was like Renaissance man. Like, he played guitar and he was an artist and he was a surfer. And one of the things he would draw for us when we were kids, in fact, I have a sample of it. He drew me this is I believe a copy. It might be the original, I don't remember, but this was kind of the stuff that he was drawing for us.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was the cool Rat Fink stuff. And I remember seeing the big gear shifter, and I was just fascinated by that. Like, I thought that was the coolest thing. And so I would draw. Yeah. And so I remember just being at that age, looking at Rat Fink and hot rods, and I just thought it was this cool, gritty kind of underground
yes
thing, and
taboo.
Yeah, and so it was just a lot of fun, and so I drew that for as a kid, and so that just continued all through school and high school, and but at that time this was before the internet.
Right.
After graduating high school, I just didn't really know what to do with it. I didn't know you could
Right. Yeah.
do artwork professionally full time, and
Did you take art classes, like electives, or art
oh
electives?
yeah, all the electives were all art, drawing,
Yeah.
painting, all the art classes. Like that's all I did. I was on the yearbook staff, and
Okay.
Nice.
I got voted most artistic in the senior poll and the whole.
Very cool.
Okay.
So yeah, and it was
That's
just,
sealed the deal
already
right
laying
there.
some groundwork, laying some
Yeah.
groundwork of like, I'm an artist guy. Here's what's up.
You had a yearbook quote to live up to. So
That's right.
and it's just painful to look at now. I look at that old stuff when I was a teenager, and it's just it's so awful.
But you're right. There isn't, the time you're talking about, there wasn't a specific doorway of how do you become a professional artist, or how do you even get into doing art other than just start to do it.
Yeah, and so it was, to me, it was just a hobby, is something I did. I did little things. I would paint murals for family members or friends, and on their, like a nursery bedroom wall, that kind of thing. And this was growing up that by this time in the 80s, and we lived in the San Fernando Valley, not too far from Hollywood. So there was a lot of rock bands, and we had our garage. My mom let us convert our garage into a rehearsal studio. And so we had bands that played in there. And so I would design logos for the bands, and I was always painting on the back of jackets, the Iron Maiden.
Yes.
I was just gonna say, already there's the start.
Yes.
Yeah, doing that kind of
doing
thing.
Apparel and all that kind of good stuff.
That's
apparel, a lot of airbrushing T-shirts.
Yeah.
But that was kind of it, and so I didn't really think I can do much more with it. And so I literally, at that time, I was working, with Kathy, and we got married, and we had a little house and our first baby, and I was working in pest control. I was killing bugs for a living because I had no college education. I had no formal training with art. I didn't think I was good enough to even do it anyways. And so I was just kind of working in a job, and that's just kind of what I did. And, in 1996, we at a family reunion, we met like a third cousin of my wife's that she didn't even really know. And he worked at Disney. Larry Flores was a Disney animator. And so I kind of sought him out and just told him I just wanted to meet him because it was a Disney guy,
Yeah.
So exciting. And he was just a super great guy. He just kind of took me under his wing and started helping me out and pointing me in the right direction. And I told him, well, I didn't go to art school. And he's like, they don't really care, when it comes to these kind of creative type jobs. They just want to know what you can do. Like the degree doesn't matter.
Can you draw? That's the big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like you have to draw the right type of things that they're looking for. When you submit a portfolio at a studio, they don't want to see cartoons. They don't want to see Mickey Mouse. They want to see good figure drawing of animals and people. Because as everyone knows, as the artists, like drawing humans, drawing a good human, drawing a good animal, that's really difficult to do.
Yeah. So hard.
And the studios know that. And so they know if you can do a portfolio that have really good humans and animals, gesture drawing, life drawing, that you can do all the other stuff. So he was telling me that because I didn't know that. And so he was, I started going to the zoo and taking some life drawing classes because they had models, and just started filling up a sketchbook. And then at the same time, he was teaching me the entry level of animation, which is called in-betweening. In-between is literally drawing in between the key drawings. Your boss would do drawing number 1 might be a head this way, and drawing number 10 might be a head that way. And then you would take those 2 drawings, flip them back and forth, and then you'd put another paper on top, and you would draw the halfway, the in-between. And so he was teaching me that because if my first life drawing portfolio made it through the cut, they would have me do an in-between test. That's kind of how it worked.
Gotcha.
Had you not known what it was.
To have that little bit of insight.
Yeah.
Preparing you. The world of difference. That's amazing. Such a cool thing. Hey, before we go any further, You know,
Yes.
part of what we do here on Sketchy Live is, of course, we read the comments to our folks
Yes.
coming in.
Oh yeah. In
Let's
fact,
introduce our folks who are coming in there. ADB, go ahead.
Yes. We've got Jim Pollan. Hello, everyone from Hobo's Hot Rod Garage, Horseheads, New York. What's up, Thomas Estrada?
Yeah.
yo,
We've got Rob Earl. Let's get ready to get sketchy. Hey there, Eddie B and Johnny tuning in
What's
from
up?
Hunter Valley, Australia.
It's so early there in the morning.
I
think.
know.
wow.
Tony
Thanks, Rob.
Bennett. Hello from George from Hot Rods Motorcycle Awareness and Suicide
What's
Prevention
up, Tony?
Foundation. We've got Riff Driven from Casa Grande, Arizona.
Nice.
Shaggy LeBlanc.
Shaggy LeBlanc.
He said, I did it. I figured out we're here.
We're
he was
so excited you're
having
here,
such a hard
Shag.
time getting on YouTube. So I'm so glad.
Heck yeah.
Laura Carter's joining us.
What's
Welcome.
up?
And Arlo Dillman from Wisconsin.
Arlo, what is up?
Nice.
Okay, so
I
those are-
have I was posting about this. I didn't tell you guys this, but and I'll let you decide who gets these, but for like some compelling interactions and comments, I was gonna send a couple of prints out to
Oh, look at
Ah.
whoever you decide. I have
Okay.
what is that, a Nova?
I kind of want that one.
Oh, the uncertainty.
Oh,
That's
love it.
cool. Yeah.
So I have
Jesus,
I have
cool.
several of these.
Okay.
Depending on who you think should get something like that.
All right. Well, there you go.
Oh.
You heard it first, folks. So the more comments and the
More-
more likes
yeah.
and
Sam Metro.
subscribes and all the good things. Goodies
Yeah.
are coming your way.
Sam Metro from Claremont, Florida, which we're going to have him on the
Yeah, we gotta
podcast
get
at some
Sam on here
point too.
some point.
So gosh, and now I forget what I was going to. So what I was going to ask you is, when you first got this job, was it digital art or were you actually
Ooh,
drawing stuff?
hand drawn.
This is back in the old school hand-drawn paper,
Wow.
pencil on paper days.
And let me clear
So-
something up real quick, ADB. Digital, you're still drawing.
I know.
Careful your words
But-
you use. Your husband
Well,
does
it
a lot of
all it
digital.
depends what you're doing. Digitally you're still drawing, but when it comes to character animation, you're no longer drawing the character. What you're doing is manipulating a virtual puppet. It's almost like computer stop motion.
Yeah.
You have now a statue on the computer that has a series of controls all over its body, and you pose the statue, and then you hit save. Then you go to frame 10 and pose it again, and you do that 100 times, and it's saving all your poses. Then when you hit play, it puts it all together. It puts all those poses together. So that's kind of how the 3D animation works.
So easier than drawing it 100 times.
Yes, because now you're more focused on just the motion, whereas in 2D animation, you had to draw the different angles of the character.
Right.
So if you had a character turning his head, you had to draw what that foreshortened nose would look like, and trying to keep that drawing as solid as possible, which is really difficult to do. So now you just have this virtual model that somebody has built, and so you can move it all around and not have to worry about it moving, changing shapes and that kind of thing.
Nuts.
I will say, and I'm probably not the only one who's done this, but do you remember back in the day how you would take like a sticky notepad and you would draw the little scenes? Yes, I used to. That's
That's literally what 2D animation is.
Yeah.
You would draw. So we were drawing frame by frame on large sheets of paper, and you're drawing all the iterations, and then they would take those drawings and literally put them down, take a photo of it, remove it, put the next one down, take a photo of it, and they're going to put this strip together of all your drawings. And the way it worked back then, feature film was 24 frames per second. Each frame was typically a drawing for every 2 frames, is when it was called animating on 2s. Sometimes if they needed it very smooth, they would use a single drawing for every frame of film.
Wow.
So you imagine 24 frames per second, that's 12 drawings for 1 second worth of animation.
Holy
I'm
cow.
already exhausted.
And back then,
Exhausting.
Which is why those movies took years
Yes.
and years to
and
finish.
400 people to work on them.
Yeah, holy cow.
Because back then I remember my quota as just a starting out in-betweener was about 35 drawings a week, which was difficult to do. So if I made my quota at the end of a 1 week, I'd have just over a second worth of film.
Oh!
Whatever that math is.
Wow.
Oh my
And
god.
So
how
you'd be
was-
watching the movie and you'd be like, okay, hold on here. My scene's coming up. And
Your
there it
scene.
is. That's my scene. I spent a month working on that.
Oh my gosh.
But man, that shoe looked good.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So
Oh
yeah,
my
it was a lot
goodness.
of work and it took a long time, which is why the movies, they took so much longer to come out. The hand-drawn stuff, it'd be several years in between movies. And nowadays it's like every weekend there's a new CG film just because the process is definitely a lot easier.
Right.
So Disney artists, Warner Brothers, DreamWorks. Am I
Yeah, so I
missing any?
started at DreamWorks. I submitted my portfolio at Disney initially, but they had just finished Hercules, and so they weren't really hiring anybody. They said, we like your life drawing portfolio, but they didn't let me take the test because they said we come back in about 6 months. So I ended up taking it down the street. There was a fairly new studio that was doing their first hand-drawn film called DreamWorks. They were making a movie called The Prince of Egypt. And so I went over there. I actually went there in my pest control truck. I was working that day.
So cool.
And I at that time, DreamWorks used to be in a small office building at the back of Universal Studios.
Hmm.
And so I drove up, I pulled up to the gate, and I remember the guard there at the shack kind of looked out and he saw my pest control truck, it was bright
Probably
yellow.
thought you were there to spray.
Spider, and he opened the gate and he let me come right in.
Nice.
And so I came in and I dropped off my portfolio and a few weeks later they said, we like your life drawing stuff. Come in and take this in-betweening test. And it was this Egyptian kind of looking guy. And they explained who it was, Moses, in this movie. And I did this test for. And then a few weeks after that, I got this call and said, congratulations, you're going to be on this motion picture. And I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that
crazy.
somebody was going to pay me to draw. And it was just took off from there.
Can I ask the ultimate question? Because I can only imagine this feeling. How was it to tell the pest control people? I mean, what did that? What was the emotions of like how to do it?
They were probably happy for him.
Yeah, they were very happy for me. They were very nice, very nice people.
But listen, getting up every single day to go do pest control. At some points, I'm going to imagine, especially as you're drawing, you're like, if I could just land a gig,
right?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell these people where they can take this truck.
I have to be thankful though for that job because it did come back around, which is very interesting. And I'll tell the story really quick. So I'm on Prince of Egypt for about a year, and I got cast onto the Moses team, which was just unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. Each character that you get cast on, they have a supervisor. And so I had the one supervisor, Moses. And so when I came back for my second film was called The Road to El Dorado, I got cast onto a different character under a different supervisor. I knew who she was. Her name's Nicola, but I never knew her personally because she was on a different team,
Right.
But so this is about a year and a half later. They bring me into their office on the first day of production, and they said, Nicola, this is Tom Estrada. He's going to be one of your assistants. She had her back to the door because she was drawing. And as they said that, she slowly turned around and she said, Thomas Estrada, were you at pest control? And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm trying to think, like, did I spray her house or something? Like, how do you know this?
Yeah.
She says, I remember a year and a half ago when you submitted your portfolio. She's like, I was on the review board of portfolios. And she said, we would have stacks and stacks of them. And we were going through them all. And she's like, don't get me wrong, I loved your drawings. I thought you had a lot of talent. But I remember reading your little resume, and most of the people were either coming from other studios or they were art school graduates. And yours said current occupation, pest control. And she's like, you had no formal training, no experience. And she said, I remember saying, look at this guy. He's got nothing, no experience, and he's in pest control and he wants to be an animator. Why don't we let him come in and take the test, see what he can do?
Yeah.
And she's like, I always remembered that. I was like,
memorable.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So you never know those little things.
That's right. That's true. That's true.
And look at the way this played out. Pest control to Disney with the mice
Working
to then
for the mouse.
Rat Fink. You're a
Look
Rat
at
Fink
you.
artist now.
It all comes full circle. What else is that people saying there before we get too far?
Let me get in here.
Yes.
We have
Sam Metro was in there.
Sam Metro from Claremont, Florida. He said Model T's rule. I have 2 of them.
Yes, he does.
Shaggy said, oh, okay, we already read that, or you posted that one. Laura Carter is driving home from DC, so I may lose service because I'm in the car. No worries. We will repost.
Hi, Laura. I know Laura.
Michael Cossey is joining us from Hanford, California. Welcome.
Nice.
Jim Pollan said, I would love to get back together with you for a bead rolling collaboration.
Nice.
Did you work with Jim before?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's an awesome guy. He does great work.
Sure.
He really does. Yeah, he's done some stuff for us too. Very thankful. We've got Cam McNulty joining us from Wyoming. She will be here Sunday. That's our daughter and the grandkids. We've got Dewey Watson, aka Draco Cycles. I went on Facebook looking for you and didn't even notice it was just YouTube. Yeah, we announced that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. We're glad you're here, though.
Welcome. Rob Earl, again from Australia. Hey there, Thomas. Question: where do you think, or how do you think animation will go in the future with technology?
Nice.
That's a good question.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely going through another transition. We went through that, years ago when it went from hand drawn to computer animation was a big, transition for a lot of people. And it seems to be happening again now with the emergence of the AI thing. I know they're doing a lot of stuff with AI where a lot more animation is being automated and procedural stuff where they're able to just kind of punch in some numbers and see what it does. So, we'll see what that does, what that means, in the long run. But it seems to definitely be having some effect on character animation, that kind of thing right now. And,
for sure.
Hopefully people are able to adjust and keep going kind of like they did before.
Do you find, because I'm starting to notice this, and again, in your artistic eye, don't you see a lot of you can go, that's AI? There's a specific style that
I can't tell
that it's chosen where you're like, everything is very, very redundant in a lot of things that it does, even though characters may be different or coloring or even the way.
It definitely has that same feel kind of across the board. And, we'll see how that changes. It was the same thing, back in the day when CG was first getting more popular. It had a very specific kind of look, and it just kept getting better. That was the thing. When we were doing 2D animation, we always kind of felt like we were superior to the CG stuff because we were doing real art. We were drawing on paper, and 2D animation was very loose and very fluid. And at that time, the only really CG stuff at that time was like Toy Story and Ants and Bug's Life, where they had these rigid bodies and they couldn't do really good humans yet. You remember like the old Toy Story, like Andy's mom, like they always looked kind of odd, like the humans. And I remember we used to think like, well, as long as they can't do real good fluid animation, like we're going to be okay. And I remember the day specifically we were working, I was at Disney by this time and I was working on Emperor's New Groove, and somebody came in with this with the video and they said, have you guys seen this new trailer from the new Pixar film that's coming out? It's called Monsters Incorporated. Like, all right, let's see what they got. Again, we're just like,
it's so good.
That damn fur.
It was that first teaser trailer when it opens up and it's in Boo's bedroom and these 2 monsters flop out of the closet and the little green guy pops up. But then behind him is this furry blue Sully gets up and he does this big stretch and he has this beautiful fur that just flowed. And I remember just collectively all of us were just like, oh man.
Damn it.
Oh man, it was good. Now, are you still doing character animation, or have you put that aside and you're working on other projects now?
Yeah, so I did the animation stuff for a long time. I ended up working with Disney and DreamWorks, and ended up with WB doing some video game stuff. But I resigned I quit in 2017. I resigned from WB just to pursue full-time freelance,
Nice.
and it was the scariest thing ever, to quit your job. And at that time there was a lot of things going on that kind of happened at the same time. We were just becoming empty nesters, my wife and I, and I was in my late 40s. My mom had just passed away, and you start thinking about things a lot more, call it a midlife crisis or whatever, but you start thinking about, I don't know how much time I have left. You start seeing things going on, and you start thinking about where you want to spend whatever that time might be. And we started doing, at that time, I started doing a lot of these Comic-Cons because I've had this film background, and we were getting invited to those. And I also started drawing Rat Fink because it was just out of nostalgia. I remember just drawing it one day. Somebody had asked me, my nephew had asked me to draw him a monster truck like I had done when he was a little kid. And so I drew this truck. I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. I haven't done that in a long time. And so with that, we started doing these Comic-Cons, and then we started doing car shows, and we were booking these things on the weekends and just having so much fun traveling around. And we were meeting people that with the Comic-Cons that grew up now with these films, Prince of Egypt and The Road to El Dorado and Treasure Planet had been out for, coming on 20 years now. And so I'm meeting these kids that just grew up watching these, because at the time, those movies didn't do very well when they first came out. In fact, like Emperor's New Groove just bombed. I mean, it was not
really?
Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, it was.
Favorite one. It was hilarious.
It became like,
definitely a sleeper. So, but now all these years later, we're going to these Comic-Cons and we're meeting people that grew up watching these, and it just meant so much to them. And this was something really cool to meet somebody that worked on it. Even though I was very low on the totem pole you have to wait quite a while to see my name on the credits in these films. But
it's still there though.
It's there.
And so it was just really cool to meet people that, that these films meant so much to them. I'd hear these stories about, I was in the hospital and Treasure Planet's what got me through. And there was showing me tattoos of the artwork, and kids were like, me and my best friend would sleepovers and watch the New Groove. And it was just really neat to hear these stories and to do these things. And so we started just doing more of those shows, and with the Rat Fink, and we just thought, what, let's just do this for a while. Why don't we try this? And so there was a lot of sacrifice that came with it. We sold our house and we rent a little place here to be near the kids, but we bought an RV and we started traveling a lot and started just doing these.
That's our plan. We want to do that.
Yeah. Well, did you listen? He's like, hey, there's only so much time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like
important,
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for that. What I've been able to do in animation, I don't regret it at all. It's been a great experience, but this whole new thing, since 2016, 2017 has just been such a crazy adventure since then. The different properties and people I've gotten to work with, through the hot rod stuff, and just being able to be freelance. I get, oftentimes I'll do drawings of people I admire or things that I like. And what's great about social media nowadays is you can draw something really cool. Like I was, huge Alice Cooper fan, to draw a picture and then to have it somehow find its way to him through
That's cool.
social media. And now I'm working with him, and get to do something with him. And it's been like that, with several different things, from Evel Knievel and Michael Anthony from Van Halen and Foo Fighters, and just like
Foo Fighters.
The Foo Fighters.
You got to say it like
yes.
that.
And so it's just been one of those crazy things of just unbelievable, that,
the beauty of the type of art that you do and now do, and with your animation background, is a lot of the caricatures that you're doing of people capturing well-known people in a cartoony way,
Yeah.
is I mean, it stands out in comparison to many guys that are, like myself, who try to do the same sort of thing, but you can definitely tell the differences in your background versus,
And that's
somebody
yeah,
trying
no,
to
I know
do
what you
without
mean.
that skill set,
Yeah.
It's been a nice little kind of niche that I found, because I feel the cars itself, the hot rods, I feel so many people like you especially draw that so much better than I do
Thanks,
doing
man.
the hot rod stuff. But because of my animation background, I have been able to kind of work in this little niche of doing the character stuff, with the caricatures. Um, and it's a tough thing, though. I don't always get them. I don't always see it.
I know you every all the ones I've seen, you've nailed pretty good. And what I
Oh,
will say is, even with that, is you talked about the car part. Looking at, if you go back and look at your stuff a couple years ago in comparison to how you're capturing the automobile now, I think there's been vast improvements
yeah, I hope so. That's
detail style and the way you've done it. I'm not saying that that it wasn't good before, because it was
it
great.
really wasn't.
What no, I don't think so. But what I'm seeing is that, because you and I have talked about that, where, on a personal level, and I'm like, yeah, but you're like, the uncertainty that you just held up. I mean, you're capturing it in such a cool way that is specifically your style, which is amazing. That's the best part of it, is you can tell your stuff now from
Oh,
anybody.
thanks. No, I appreciate
And
that.
that's the hardest part. That in anything to do with art, or is finding your voice, and having where people can look at it and go, oh, that's an Estrada, or that's a giant jalopy. That's your goals. You want that to where they're not going, oh, that kind of looks like an Ed Rothy thing. Which, yeah, I'm sure you feel complimented when somebody goes, oh, that reminds me back in the day.
Yeah.
And you're like,
that's a huge compliment, especially when a commission that's what they want.
Yes.
But yeah, to me, that couldn't be, I mean, that's just the greatest thing. I'll get a comment from somebody that, they'll tell me they're in their 70s, and I haven't seen that since I was a kid,
Right.
junior high school, and I was drawing those. And to hear that now, to say that, it takes them back. I've had people say that, boy, that takes me right back to when I was 12 years old, collecting those trading cards, and you would get from the ice cream man or something. It was like, man, that's so too cool. Like, I really do appreciate that. And
yeah, because it makes you feel like, okay, I'm capturing the feel of those guys that we looked up to, right? The Ed Newtons and the Ed Roths, and all those guys that worked for Roth Studios, where you're like, God, if I could just capture a little bit of the feel that they do, it makes you happy. And then when somebody tells you that looks so
that's the best.
You're like, hell yeah, that's so cool.
And it's funny because I don't always feel that. I think most artists, have this little insecurity in them where I'm like that very much. I'll do a piece of art and I love it, and I post it, and about 10 minutes later, it's the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just I hate it.
Same for him.
Myself from deleting it.
Yes.
And oftentimes I do. But the thing is, though, and I tell other artists, because I often get questions and from aspiring artists or people starting out, and they're like, when am I ever going to get to that point where I'm just comfortable with my work and I'm happy with it? I'm like, you just never will.
Yeah.
And you're your own worst critic.
Fleeting moments. There are moments where you feel like you're like, yeah.
Yes. But it doesn't, at least for me, it doesn't last long. But the thing I tell them, though, although that feeling doesn't go away, but there are kind of two ways you can go with it. Some people will be so debilitated by that they just give up, because they're like, I'm never going to be any better. I stink. I hate my work. And then they just stop doing it.
Yeah.
Or you can go the other way, which is what I do. I hate this piece. It stinks. I'm no good. But I can't wait to start the next one.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be really good. And then I do the next one. It's like, all right. And then, like you said, then you can look back over the last year or so, or even more, and you actually see, oh, I actually have gotten better.
Right.
I still hate the current stuff that I do. It
Yes.
still stinks, but I can't wait to start the next one because the next one's going to be even better.
Thomas, I was just looking in my phone and I'm going through and kind of deleting pictures and stuff in my phone to make room, you know?
Yeah.
And I start finding some artwork from probably about 2 years ago. And I'm like, oh my God, this is dear. How did I ever post this? Why are we selling it as a print? Who's going to buy this crap? Delete. It's so bad.
But it's okay. You know, it's okay
Yeah.
because as long as you stay in that attitude of, I want to keep growing and keep improving and keep getting better, then it's okay if you have those feelings because you know that's what's driving you to keep wanting to get better. And so I don't mind it anymore. I don't mind that dissatisfaction when I look at the disgust when I look at my drawings 10 minutes after I finish it, because I'm looking forward to the next one of nailing stuff down that I missed the first time, you know.
Now, how did you get the Evel Knievel gig? Did they reach out to you and ask you to do some artwork, and then you just started touring with them?
That kind of we've been working together for a couple of years now. It was one of those things where I did just my own. I did a drawing of Evel kind of in a Rat Finky kind of style. And I put it online, and I noticed like, you know, there's certain properties like you get a little nervous about, like, I hope this doesn't get me in trouble.
There's a fine line.
Yes, I do know about those.
And so what I did with that one in particular, I found like their official Instagram page, and I just private messaged them. I sent it to them. I said, hey, I'm a lifelong fan. Of course, you know, it's Evel Knievel.
Right.
I did this drawing. I just wanted to show you guys, and if you'd like to have it, I'd love to mail it to you. And they ended up responding, and they said, you know, this is pretty cool. And they said, we appreciate you not just going in and bootlegging it and putting it out there.
Right.
And they said, we're actually looking to do some new merch, and would you be interested in doing something with us? And
sweet. See, and that's you taking a chance on yourself and saying, you know what, this is good enough to send to them. And you know, obviously you believed in that, you know, to be able to send it to them, and then look at the door.
It was in that first 10 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, a kicker. You got to get it out fast.
And I'm sure, you know, I've done this too, where you got it in the inbox and you're like, do I send it? Do I send it?
Oh yeah.
You're going to hate it. Who am I kidding? They're not going to see it. What's the point?
And oftentimes that happens. I've done a lot of those where it's just that very thing, and where it just didn't go anywhere. It's like, all right, well, it was cool. I took a chance. And that's a big part of this is being able to take those risks and putting your stuff out there and just seeing what it's going to do. And sometimes you get those, you know. I got the Foo Fighters gig was the same thing. I was just drawing some little caricatures of them and posting them online and tagging them. And then all of a sudden I get, you know, one day I get this little notification, Foo Fighters liked your photo. I'm freaking out. And then,
and then you're like, was it them or was it their people?
Oh yeah. Well, by the time I got they're now following you. And then I got the little note DM, you know, that they message you. Now I'm like, okay, this is a scam. Like, who are these people?
Hey, by the way, this is Dave Grohl. I just thought I'd let you know how cool I think it is. And you're like, there's no way that's Dave Grohl. Whatever. Yeah, I
mean, that's how it was with the Alice Cooper thing when he called. That was just unbelievable to get.
Now, do you get into like their concerts and stuff for free now?
Listen to you.
Did they like send you comp tickets?
We got a couple of free shows for some
we
stuff
did.
we've done. So
we did. So
I try not to be that guy. But sometimes, you know,
you're like, hey, I'll hand deliver the merch.
When they invite you and they're like, hey, come on down.
It is cool when you get the invite. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's probably about the coolest thing is when, you know, you'll get that message and, hey man, we're going to be in town, you know, next month, and you got to make sure you hit me up when, you know. So that's always cool when you get those. So yeah, we have been able to get. I've been able to get some of those before, which is always
there. You go.
Hey, what else are people saying there? Let's read some comments.
Let me read.
We got some
I know
art to
we
give
do.
away.
We do.
Yes.
I think Rob Earl wins one just for that really cool question.
That was a
up
good question
early.
because that really spun into like a 20-minute conversation.
That's right.
Speed and Shine TV, Mike Sadler joining us. Welcome,
What's up,
sir.
Speed and Shine?
Paul Marziani from Bradenton, Florida.
What's up, Paul Marziani?
Laura Carter said, my husband was in pest control and he does not miss it. She said, I love learning you were able to get the job with your amazing talent and no formal training.
For sure. That's so cool.
Yeah, I was happy, really lucky, or just really blessed to
Talented, man.
And yeah, you were talented. Do not sell yourself short. Guy Hodges joining us from the Lone Star State. Welcome.
What's up, Guy?
We've got Mary Evans tuning in from Dunedin, Florida.
Hey, Mary.
Welcome. Sam Metro wants to know, Thomas, do you own a hot rod or custom? Another good question.
I have the closest thing I have to it is I think it's a 1963. It's a vintage travel trailer. It's a little tiny 13-foot, looks like a canned ham. It's got the two-tone with the red and white. And I spent a couple of years converting it into a little mini display, little art thing that we take to car shows. And it's got the checkerboard laminate flooring, and it's very retro. And the little moon hubcaps on there, and I did my own white wall tires with some Flex Seal.
Yes, we've done that. We've been there.
Listen, I've had many sets of hand painted white wall tires.
Yes, so
no one's gonna know.
It's like something Mickey Mouse would pull around, in a little. And so it's a tiny little thing, but yeah, that's probably the closest I have to it, and but it's a lot of fun. We love taking that out. I only take it to local shows because I'm not sure how well it would or how long it would last on the freeway if I went any further.
Yeah. Any aspirations to get something?
I would love to get an old car to pull that little trailer with. Kat and I have talked about that. It would be great to get like an old wagon or something would be really cool.
See, man, this is the issue with getting into hot rod art is that you suddenly start seeing all these cars you're drawing and you start going, I gotta get one. I gotta be more a part of this culture.
Yeah,
that's how it was with that little trailer. When we started doing this more, and I saw that little trailer online somewhere, and it was horrible. Like, it was just destroyed and full of junk. And I think it probably took a couple years just to get it looking decent. But yeah, I would love to get something. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Like a sweet 60s C10 or a Suburban pulling the old vintage trailer.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing ideas out for you. The really expensive ones. The hard to find.
Yeah.
Great question, Sam.
Yeah.
Laura Carter said, I missed a few minutes, but that's so cool about Alice Cooper. Yes.
Yeah.
And quite a few. In fact, head on over to Thomas's website, art. It's not the art. It's just www.artofthomasestrada.com.
Yes.
Great plug.
Yes. And I wanted to talk about what products you have available because it looked like there was some posters. There's some music. It said music.
Yeah, that's what we haven't got into yet, but your musical art that you do, like you've done multiple Van Halen stuff, but there's one, the recent one I caught.
Can't hear you. Hello? Sorry. Darn it. I don't know if you can hear me.
Okay. Can you hear us?
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear us now? Hello? Everything's fine here. Hello? Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? Can anybody hear us now?
Uh-oh.
Oh boy. I don't know what else it would be.
Can group hear us?
Oh, okay.
Can you hear us
I
now?
don't hear you, Johnny.
We can hear you now.
Yeah. I can hear you.
I was told they can hear me, but not you.
Hmm.
Oh, you hear Johnny.
Yeah, we can hear your.
I think you're back. I'm not. I can't hear you at all. Sorry.
How about now? Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us now? I don't. That was so weird. I don't know what happened.
Can you hear us now?
Is that any better? I still can't hear you, Johnny. I'm really sorry.
You're hooked to this.
I know.
You may have to go out and come back.
If I do that, then we lose the whole broadcast.
Okay, I hear you now.
How about
Oh,
now?
okay, good. All right, then we're
Okay.
back. Okay.
I was doing the settings, testing the settings, and it's back now. I don't know what happened.
I don't know
looks like
either.
we lost connection in our browser. We have an extender, and it's obviously not. We're one step away from just having internet installed in here. So
Yeah, we may have to.
That's what we're gonna have to do.
Gotcha.
You can hear us now, though.
Okay.
I hear you now. Yes.
Hooray! We didn't lose anybody, and everybody's here. Okay.
Yes, everybody's still with us. Okay. Thanks, guys, for hanging in. Okay. So we were talking about the website, and I had noticed when I was looking earlier, that your wife also very artistic as well. So her stuff is also on the website. So tell us about that.
Yeah, she has her shop is a little cheer for you, and she makes just wonderful bags and hair products, scrunchies, and she's got these really cool new line of vinyl bags that we're coming out with soon that we have custom printed with my designs, and she puts them together. She makes just beautiful stuff, and we're looking forward to showing this new line that we have coming up. I think it's going to be really cool. But yeah, she has a lot of stuff on there already, from different makeup bags and little purses and that kind of thing. And
well, that's cool. So when you guys travel, you're selling your stuff, and she gets to sell some merch of her.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool. Being able, working together. We get to do that. She does so much. If you've ever been to my booth, I'm pretty much just talking to people and signing stuff, and she's doing all the work. She handles all the merch and everything, and so I honestly couldn't do it without her.
Oh, I understand.
Oh, we know. I'm in the same boat, my friend. I'm in the same boat.
And where she's even super valuable is we were talking earlier about doing the caricatures. There's so many times when I'm just not seeing it. I'm just not getting it. And she's just so great at that. When I'll bring in a caricature that I'm working on, and I'll flip it around real quick to show her. And in the first few seconds, like, she just spots it. Like, if she knows it, she'll tell me, yes, that's it. Or if it's not there, like, then it's like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm going to fix it. But what's great is that she sees stuff that I just don't see. Like she'll pick up things, like see the angle of the eye. Like I think it's just angled up just a little bit more. Like, my God, that's perfect. Like, and I'll do
Yeah.
it. It's like, oh, nailed it. So
The best part of that is that you're listening to her and you'll make the corrections instead of arguing and thinking she doesn't like my stuff. I'm just going to stomp away, because Johnny's the same way. When I critique his stuff, he takes it into consideration and he makes the adjustment, or he'll see it a different way.
Oh, I thought you were
yeah, and I can't say I'm perfect at that all the time. You know, there are times when you get bent a little bit.
Oh my God! Listen, this tire's supposed to be this way. It's on purpose.
Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing.
But no, she's just wonderful that way.
So it's just the two of you living your best lives in this little RV and being creative and seeing the world together. I love it.
It's just the coolest thing. You know, I couldn't ask for more. And we rent a place here in town because our kids are here and married, and we want to be close to them. And so we still have that home base. But yeah, we definitely travel a lot. We love being on the road together, and working together has just been awesome. I couldn't ask for anything more. And it's just such a tremendous blessing to be able to do that with her. I think I lost you again. Sorry, it's out again.
Give me 1 second.
There you are. You're back.
Okay. All right. We took Johnny off there. We're just running on one computer now. Jeez. What a disaster. Sorry.
And there's a fiction about his wife, and then and then she'll watch this and go, "Oh
no!" Hopefully, it's still recording because his was still fine.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll just have to do all this all over again. That's all.
We definitely want to have you back on anyway, because there's a lot.
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned something before, something cool that was going on now that you wanted to share.
You have an announcement?
So what was that?
Oh, yeah, it was just some of the cool stuff. I get a lot of really cool gigs that I've been able to do, from, because I'm a huge music fan. You've seen the stuff.
Yeah.
Love what you do there. Love what you do.
Because that's just been such a big part of my life, growing up with music, and so being able to get those opportunities. And so, yeah, one of the cool gigs that I'm going to be doing that just happened recently is I'm going to be working on a new line, a series that we're going to be doing with the Dimebag Darrell estate.
What?
Yeah, so I'm super jazzed about that.
Dude.
And
that's a cool gig.
It's going to be a super cool gig. We're really excited about it. We have a lot of stuff planned with them to just do a series of some merch, a line of merch.
Very cool.
Centered around some of his iconic vehicles. And so, yeah, and that was one of those that, they kind of contacted me about, and I was just over the moon about it.
Congratulations. That's a very, very cool gig.
Nice.
A big fan of.
Yeah. I mean, just such an
amazing artist.
Absolutely.
So missed. No, one of a kind. Nobody shredded like he did.
Man.
And holy cow, how many major guitarists have we lost now?
I know.
Yeah.
Eddie was a huge one, and then and of course that was way before that. But
right, and then that's the some of the coolest things is to be able to work with some of these people that I've grown up admiring. I have a gig I'm doing currently still with Michael Anthony. Was the bass player from Van Halen, and that was just such a great thing, to have that now. We have a series. What's cool about that, is you talked about being invited to some of these gigs. That was one of the gigs I did get invited to with Michael Anthony's been touring with Sammy Hagar.
Yes,
they're pals.
So when he invited me to their show, this was last October. I was able to get one of the very first records that I bought when I was like 8 or 9 years old was the first Van Halen debut album, which came out in 1978.
Yeah.
I bought it for my father as a Father's Day gift when I was a little kid, and my dad passed away a couple years ago. Before I got the Michael Anthony gig, and he would have just been so thrilled to know that I was working with Michael. And so when I got invited to that, I was able to actually track down that album. This very album that I bought for my dad was actually in my older brother's collection by this time.
Wow.
And I hit him up. I said, "Hey, do you still have that Van Halen record?" And he mailed it to me from Tennessee, and I was able to take that with me to Michael Anthony, and to have him autograph that for me was just
wow.
It's just a great little tribute, for my dad, and to be able to get that signed from him, because it just came full circle again from when I was looking at that, and then being able to bring that to him and have him sign that same record was really special.
Huge fan of that guy, and we're going to talk music, and I bet you would agree with me if you're a Van Halen fan. Yeah, I mean, he is for sure like the thing that holds all of it together, not just the groove, but also the vocals. Like there's a lot of the really high runs in
all those high harmonies. That was
exactly. And a lot of people don't know that that's him. They account for it to be that it was David Lee Roth the whole time. I'm like, no, go back and listen. And that's Michael Anthony.
And that's such an iconic part of their sound. I mean, that's what
for sure. And you could see the differences when David Lee Roth went on his own, and he didn't have that Michael Anthony in the back. It wasn't the same sound.
Yeah.
But the beauty
was such an integral part. I mean, you look at Van Halen, and there's so many of those elements. Obviously, Eddie Van Halen and his playing and his tone. Yeah. And you got the to me the drum tone and the sound of Alex, and
nothing like his drum set. Yep, sounds
David Lee Roth's vocals and the screech and the whole thing, the swagger. But then you get the bass, the driving bass, but then the high harmony vocals that Michael did. To me, that was just as important as those other elements that made that sound of the Van Halen. And
I 100% agree with you. And what was amazing is then to carry that over, and then to watch somebody like Sammy Hagar, who takes that and utilizes it. But what I love about the Hagar part is he recognizes the talent of that. I'm not saying that maybe it didn't, but the front man definitely wasn't talking about his amazing bass player holding these amazing vocals, where Sammy really goes, "Yeah, dude, get up front and you sing some songs because you got just as much vocal range."
And he's just such a nice guy. I mean, Michael Anthony is the coolest, most down to earth. Like, he's just awesome. Like, every time I've interacted with him, he's just been amazing. Like, you couldn't ask for.
Cool. That's super cool.
Such a genuine, humble guy, and
that's what you want to hear about the people that you look up to.
Yeah.
For sure. Thank you for sharing that with all of us.
Well, you worry about that sometimes. They always say about never meeting your hero because you're not sure what they're really going to be like. And so when you meet somebody like that, or Alice Cooper, and they're just so cool and so down to earth, you're like, wow, this is awesome. Like, I was really hoping, and then they came through. They were just like that,
That's how we were with you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I mean, to be honest, in the art community, and all of us are online. I think everybody tries to. There's room for everybody, but then there are a couple that are, they're pretty untouchable, and you don't want to talk to you, that kind of thing. But
for the most part, I found artists to be very really helpful and wanting to help people and point them in, because it was something, at least for me, that was something that was so invaluable all the way back, getting into DreamWorks. It took that one guy to take the time and tell me, well, this is what you actually need to do. This is what they're looking for. And it's like, man, it was such a great thing to be able to have that. And so, I try to do that as much as I can when people are asking those same questions, like, how do I do that? How do I get into this? And
it's in the hot rod realms. I'll tell you from experience of, from the beginning, it wasn't, it was a lot of very, it was super cutthroat.
A lot of closed off people
and so
weren't willing to share.
What's happened over the course of, it feels like the last 10 years, it's lightened up. There's a lot more people sharing.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
So that's the cool thing is, the time frame and stuff from where you came in and things is like perfect timing for, I think it's a little less, but boy, like,
because even, for me, even Rat Fink, I didn't know, living in Utah, I had no idea that the museum, the reunion there in Manti.
That's right in your backyard.
Yeah.
I had no clue. It was Abnormal Norman that told me about that. And he reached out and saw some of my stuff, and he kind of turned me on to that, and I was like, dude, thank you. Like, and he's just been cool, and we still do a lot of stuff together.
Yeah,
That's
all the Rat Fink artists are super cool people, and very, very open and very, very awesome and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I have another question here if you have time.
Yeah.
Rob Earl said, Thomas, any chance you would create an animated music video with any of the musicians or bands that you're connected with?
Oh my God, that'd be cool.
Right?
It would be cool. Idea. I have no interest in doing animation anymore. It's so much work. I don't know. I don't think people realize just how much work is involved. Like it's really painstaking. But the thing is though that it's this really extensive animation production pipeline, is this really extensive assembly line of a lot of different specialists doing highly specialized things, from character design and storyboarding, and you have the character animator, and you have the lighting and compositing. Within that huge production, I do about that much in that little pipeline. I do this little sliver, and I don't know the first thing about anything before and after what my little department is, because I've always worked for, studios that are able to bring in specialists that just work in that specific field.
Gotcha.
And so when people talk to me about making a cartoon or making something, it's like, well, I can only do this much of it. I need a whole lot of people before and after me to make this thing work. And that's kind of the thing. I try to tell people that are getting into animation. Sometimes you get into an animation program like at a college, and they want to teach you the entire pipeline for one thing, because, the more classes they can get you into, it's going to.
Sure, yeah.
At the same time, it's a great way to expose you to a lot of different departments that you may not have been aware of.
Right.
You may go into a program thinking, I want to be a character animator, and you just, for some reason, you just do really well at storyboarding, and you may not have known that unless you were in a program like that. But the thing is, though, that I try to tell them, at some point, though, you need to choose which one of those departments you're going to do
and hone in. Yeah.
And get really, really good at that one department. Because when you go to a studio like DreamWorks or Disney, they're going to hire you to do that one specific thing, because they want you to be the best at that one thing as you can be. Right. They don't want me messing with storyboards or character design. They have really good storyboard artists and really good character designers doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I always try to tell people that, like, if you're going to get in, don't put all that stuff on your portfolio. Pick one of those disciplines, get really good at that, and that should be the only thing your portfolio should have. Because if you submit it and there's got all that other stuff on there, it shows up into an HR department, and they're like, well, what department do we send this portfolio to? I don't know. They've got 10 different things in here that they say they'd like to do, and they will usually just throw it out the window.
Right.
You have to tell them, I want to be a storyboard artist. I want to be a character animator. And it's really important to know that, to really make your portfolio as specific as it can be to one department.
But then you're kind of pigeonholing yourself, right?
Yeah,
what if you want to grow and move into another area? It's going to be tougher.
You might learn a discipline, but I get what he's saying, because, like,
yeah,
for instance,
so do I. But
for like, like a couple of people that approached me to try to do a comic strip, a hot rod comic strip. I'm like, I can draw cars all day long, but I'm not good at telling a story specifically.
Yeah,
in multiple screens, right. I could tell a story in one picture, and that's what I can do. And they're like, yeah, but we really wanted a comic strip. And I'm like, I don't do that.
And some some places,
unfortunately, I lost that job, but you know what? At least I was
Right.
honest, and I would have been horrible at
Right.
it.
oh, and yeah, I'm the same way. I've done some stuff with Cartoons Magazine and a series, and I can't write that stuff. I know
Yeah.
some people that can do it. And the thing is, if you go to a small independent animation studio or startup mom and pop where they can't afford all the different disciplines, sometimes they need you to be able to do all that stuff, and that's where that is valuable, to know all those different things. But if you get even into a medium size animation studio, they just have all the best people doing all of those disciplines.
Right.
And so you do end up kind of pigeonholing yourself into that. It's not to say though that you couldn't get into a different department, but it usually takes a little while. Like animators may be there for several years and just start doing storyboarding because they really want to get into story, and you could eventually kind of transfer into that, but it doesn't happen really very often. Usually they want you to do that specific thing, and that's kind of the one of the things with those, like I was saying, getting cast onto a particular character. When I was working on like Prince of Egypt, all I drew was Moses because I was on the Moses team. They wanted me to be the best I could at drawing that character because they needed to look consistent. They needed to be really good, just him. And so they didn't want me, on those other teams.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense, especially as much as they're asking you to put out 35 pages a day or a week. Holy cow.
24 frames per second.
Well, then, and to be able to come out of a life of doing that for so long, and now to have this newfound freedom, it's just got to feel so good to be able to wake up and be like, what do I want to draw today?
Yeah.
And I don't have to do 100 of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why that's what's been so awesome, about just working freelance and doing my own thing and that's why I ended up doing Rat Fink, because it was just something I hadn't done forever. It's like, oh, this is kind of fun. Let's try this out. And then, with the music stuff as well, just because I'm such a fan, and to be able to do stuff and then do it officially for, some of these bands, it's been
So cool.
super cool.
Yeah, so cool.
How fun. And so next project, are you jumping into this new project like right away, or what do you got on the
it'll take a little while, but we'll start discussing what specifically we're doing. At the same time, I have I have a regular list of commissions that I do, and so there's a lot of projects that I'm still working on at the same time, and so it's trying to manage all that and trying to make the best of my time,
Right. Yeah.
That's that's one of the challenges with doing this is, I'm so thankful to be able to do commissions and get custom order jobs in like that. The downside is there's only so many hours in the day to do all of those. And so, I take on probably too many commissions sometimes because I just get so excited about it. When somebody will reach out and they want me to draw, a particular car or to work on a particular project, it's like, man, that would be fun. I've got 20 other commissions, but
I know.
What's one more?
People are waiting 8 months now.
8 months. Yeah. 8 months.
They're gonna get a quality product. So is your studio from home then?
Yeah. So I have just this little room that I have here, and it's got pretty much everything I need.
Nice.
I got a little air compressor outside. I run a little hose through the little crack in the window, and so I use for my airbrush, and then it's got pretty much everything I have here.
Awesome. Very cool.
Well, it's a cool looking studio space.
Yeah.
Are you going to continue to continue to do the tutorial videos?
I want to. I was kind of thinking about it. I'll probably have to switch it over to something like what you guys are doing, like with YouTube, only because I know they're starting to remove a lot of that stuff on Facebook. They were talking.
Yeah.
I got a notification recently telling me to download your videos because we're deleting all that stuff. So we'll see. But yeah, I think it would be fun to do. I do enjoy doing those. I do a lot of little time lapse videos you've probably
Yeah.
seen on my page, just to record stuff. And so people, I like, it's kind of nice showing people what I'm doing and just kind of the thought process and how
For
it all
sure.
works. Cause that was something to me as a kid, again, before the internet, to be able to see how they were doing drawing step by step.
For sure.
There was a book that I used to check out at the library over and over and over again, and it was the Stan Lee How to Draw the Marvel Way.
Mhm.
And it had these really cool breakdown drawings of stick figures, and then how they would put the basic shapes on top of it, and how they would slowly build this drawing from the inside out using an underdrawing as this foundation. And that was such a huge pivotal role in oftentimes when you're a kid, you're drawing what they call like contour drawing, where you're just drawing the outside of the shape. And when I learned about drawing the underdrawing and doing the structure underneath it and drawing that lightly and erasing it later, somebody said it's kind of like you're doing a whole drawing just to get rid of it. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty much just like that. But building that drawing from the inside out and learning that for the first time was just, it's made such a difference in the way you draw, because you're just constructing it, having this foundation underneath it that just makes it so much more solid. And which was just such a great thing to be able to figure that out at an early age.
That's why my mom was buying me Cartoons Magazine, the early versions, because of the George Trossley, how-tos, and I would just eat those up, and just, half the time the other part of the magazine would kind of get chucked, but the Trossleys were all pulled out, and they were in a book or on by my desk, and it was just how do trying to emulate how that guy. And again, like you said, there's nothing. There's still artists, like for instance, you, as much as I've seen your stuff on YouTube and things, or even that you've shared on Facebook. It's so different to watch somebody do it live.
Yeah.
And that's the part. Like, there's a bunch of artists that I would love to go watch their process. How are you doing what you're doing? Just not to steal, but just to go. I just wonder how you get from A to B.
Well, because you start with tires.
Most cases.
Most of the time. Who does that? Like, I don't know anybody else.
It's really
it's
really a dumb way to start, but it's not the best way.
It's just whatever gets you there. But it's so great to do that. I don't mind doing that at all. Finding an art that you admire, just even if it's just drawing your own version of it, or just drawing what they did. I'm going to draw this just to see. Oh, I see what they're doing with the smoke on the tires, and oh, that's really cool. And then you make it your own, and that's such a cool thing. And the other thing, like you said, in having the George stuff like that, having a reference is so important. I try to tell people this all the time. Mm-hmm. I often get young aspiring artists, and they'll show me a picture of a horse or something, and they're like, I drew this horse, but I had to look at a picture of a horse when I drew it. I'm like, you're supposed to look at a picture of a horse.
It's how you get the detail of.
They think they think a great artist is you just whip this up out of the top of your head, and I'm like, no, you should be using reference. Like, there's only so much your mind can remember of what a horse looks like,
right?
And pretty soon, you need to have something that you can reference to, and that's okay. Sure. There's no shame in that. Like, that's the proper way to do it.
I just watched a movie poster artist. I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. He's done tons of movies, like from the 60s and 80s and 90s. Anyways, he goes, he was in he's doing a little tour of his studio, and he goes, oh, here's all my cars. If there's ever a car in the poster I'm drawing, if I don't have the car model, I go buy it.
Yes.
So I can have that as the reference. He goes, I'll take photographs of it in the specific way I want to use it on the poster. And he goes, then I just go right off of that. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. Like you're saying, most students would think, oh no, I got to figure out
they think it's cheating somehow.
What a 55 Chevy looks like by memory.
It's no different than the little wooden guy that you pose.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And oftentimes I have so many photos of drawing Rat Fink like a gear shifter in the hand.
Do you
Mhm.
take pictures of your own hands? I do.
Oh,
that
absolutely,
frequently.
all the time.
I'm like, how do I get that angle? And then I'll just
How do
snap
I
it.
get that
wife-
angle? I want to get
Your
something
wife's like
cool.
in your camera roll, and she's like, "Why are there all these pictures of your hand?
Because the
What
gear
is
shift,
happening?"
because they hold the gear shift knob different, and I want to make sure it looks weird.
Yeah,
gotta move your
it's
hand
all
all
the
funky.
time. I want to get the angle of the arm, and I want to get
Yeah.
that
Right.
foreshortening.
A muscle, yeah.
Yeah, and so reference is so important. It's something you should never be ashamed of admitting. Like, when you look back at the old Bambi film, they had a bunch of deers running around the studio. They brought them in so that they can draw them.
I would have.
I was on for a short time. We were getting ready at DreamWorks to do this Spirit.
And Moses came in? No, just kidding.
Spirit, though, the horse movie. You remember that one?
Yes.
DreamWorks bought a stallion. They had it in the back in the parking lot, a little corral. And we would have to go back there and draw this horse.
Yeah.
And just to study it and do study drawings. And so, yeah.
Fun job.
Yeah. Hey, next week we got a couple dwarfs in the closet. We're gonna let them out. No, that's wrong.
Snow White too.
Didn't mean it that way.
One last question for you before we let you go, because we're over an hour here. Shaggy LeBlanc has a question. What is the most favorite piece that you've ever done that you've put your soul into? A great question. I'll leave off on.
That's a great question.
There was a piece that I did when I first heard that Eddie Van Halen passed away. That it's one of the few that I actually really like still. I think it's on my website. It's like a watercolor.
Where he's in the jumpsuit, the red and white jumpsuit.
Yeah, it's like a really
overalls. I'm sorry, overalls.
Yeah, it's like a ink wash
yes.
kind of thing, and it's got very minimal color. I think the guitar might be the only thing that's in color. That was one of those spontaneous kind of things. I just heard the news, and I just got inspired, and I did that one really quickly. And that one I like. That one's one that I still do. Don't mind looking at from the time. I ended up it ended up being a gift for a good friend of mine. Brandon Fugel is the guy that owns if you ever watched the Skinwalker Ranch TV show. He's got that, and he's a big music fan as well, and so
very cool.
It went into his collection. And so, but yeah, that was one of those that I really enjoy, that I still like. That there's not a lot of them, and so that was one of the few.
Very
cool.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to have you on again because
please come back and we need to talk more, because I want to dive more into the hot rod art and really start getting into the process, because again, the little short videos that you've done and are so much information, and just processes are really cool.
Oh, thank you.
And of course, just to hear more about your journey into where you found this new place for you, that you have really made a name for yourself, and again, that you've got a style that is definitely your own, and it's really starting to, not that it didn't stand out before, but it's really, you can see why people are taking notice. So high five.
It's
congrats.
It's a great thing. It's just such a funny kind of crazy feeling. I wake up every day and I get to draw this stuff, and I honestly feel like whenever I pick up my pencil and I start drawing some of this stuff, it just takes me back myself. I feel like a 9-year-old kid sitting at the coffee table with my little sketchbook and drawing this stuff. And I just can't believe I get to do this every day. It's just like, what happened? How'd this happen? This has taken me so much further than I would have ever dreamed, to be able to do this for a living, and to make it last this long. I couldn't be more thankful. So.
Okay. Let it go. Can you hear us?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
We were able to hear you. It actually transferred to my computer video, so we were listening to what you were saying,
right on.
but it didn't come through on our thing. Anyway, I am so sorry.
No, you're good.
Totally technical problems.
Yes, total technical issues tonight. Our next podcast, we're going to have new equipment. We have to get something.
Love it.
We have to get something.
Love it.
Well, it has been a blast speaking with you.
An amazing pleasure, man. We are so.
Oh, thank you. Likewise. It's been a lot of fun.
That you came on, and yeah, please come on again.
Go check out artofthomasestrada.com. He's got a website. He's got merch. He's got his portfolio up there, people that he's worked with. So much stuff to go see. Follow him. You are on Facebook. You're on Instagram. Do you have a YouTube yet or no?
I have a channel, but no, I haven't done a lot on it.
Well, to come.
It's on its way.
To come.
Yeah, but we got a lot of fun stuff coming up. We're going to be at Sturgis this year. We just got that recently, and so that's going to be a lot of fun.
So if you're in the South Dakota area, I was like, "Where's Rapid City?"
It's close. Guam is
South
here.
Dakota.
Guam is down here.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
Definitely go check that out. And then I have a couple names written down for you. And now you have these little giveaways. How many giveaways do you have?
Let's see. I've got 4.
I have 4 names written down. How funny
there you
is
go.
that?
You pass those on to me, and then we'll get some of the prizes sent out.
Okay, so
thank you everyone that tuned in. I do appreciate that you took the time to hang out and listen to me blaver on.
No way, man, it was awesome.
When we had audio, yes, thank you.
Yes, for sure.
I'm so sorry. Okay, so I have Rob Earl, I have Sam Metro, I have Laura Carter, and I have Shaggy LeBlanc. Thank you so much for your input, for your questions, and for just sharing. So those are the people. If you can reach out to us, then with your information, and we'll get it over to Thomas, and he will hook you up.
Yeah,
I might sneak my name in as well. Oh my goodness. Estrada or nada. That's wonderful.
That's right.
Officially trademarked.
That's right.
All right. Well, we're going to do our outro, Tom. If you would hold on just a moment while we do that, because we want to come back on and talk with you a minute. Okay.
Thank you.
So for everybody else, thank you as always for
another
hanging
in the books.
We love you guys and
have a super week. And of course, always do what?
Stay sketchy.
We'll see you guys next Monday.
Bye.